worst thing a man can do in bed? Let me reveal the results from our national sex survey. Over half the women we talked to said the worst thing is when a man rolls over, grunts and falls asleep immediately after sex. And men told us that the worst thing a woman can do is lie there like a blancmange. And no one's too keen when a partner gets your name wrong either. Are they, Fred? Tonight, we pick our delicate way through bedroom etiquette. Nobody wants to be bad in bed. But how can you tell if you're blundering in the boudoir? And what are the worst crimes you can commit between the sheets?
Predictability.
You know, someone that is sort of like just wants to get their end away and, you know, that's it.
Some guy thinking that he's God Almighty, he thinks he's the best thing that ever happened and that you should be so grateful to be there with him.
Just humping away. And that's the worst.
That's the
worst
yeah,
thing anyone can do to you. It's an insult.
Makeup. Don't like makeup in bed. Bad smell.
Bad breath.
Being very vocal.
And anything that makes a noise.
Farting in the middle of it.
Women masturbating the man, definitely.
In what way?
Going at it too strongly, forcing it down really hard. They think that you have to do it really hard.
What do you think a man needs to know to improve in bed?
Your name.
My dear Miss Catchpole, tell me, what has become of your young friend, Mr. Dashforth, who was paying you such lavish attention at Lord Rochester's last week?
Mr. Dashforth turned out to be rather a disappointment. I fear his manners left something to be desired.
Are you saying Mr. Dashforth did not behave as a gentleman?
During dinner, he disported himself impeccably. I'm afraid it was not until some time later that he revealed his true measure.
Do you mean to tell he came to your room?
Indeed he did. And with a wild and savage look in his eye, he forced his way into my bed before I had a chance to protest.
My dear, how dreadful for you. But pray tell, what next occurred?
He then proceeded to perform acts of the most unspeakable depravity upon my prone and helpless body. Twice.
For shame.
And as he lay, exhausted across me, I slowly regained my sensibilities, and it was then that I looked down and realized the full extent of Mr. Dashforth's ill-mannered behavior.
You don't mean...
Yes. He'd left his socks on.
Cat.
Sex may seem like less of a formal pastime than ballroom dancing, but there's still lots of unwritten rules. So, how are you supposed to know how to behave? If only they made charts like this for sex, well, then life would be a whole lot simpler, I think.
Well, the bedtime habits which are most detestable are those sort of men that just approach you like a Lego set and just fumble around madly trying to put all the bits in the right places in the quickest time possible. You know, as if it's a timed event. There's just no preparation, no finesse. You know, they sort of need an ordnance survey map for all your bits, and then they assume they've done their bit, stirred the pot, and that's it. Roll over and collapse over to sleep.
Yeah, I have turned over and gone to sleep. I hope that's not offensive. Is that offensive?
It is if they're not satisfied.
Right, OK. That's a real problem, isn't it? That like sort of men are satisfied, men sort of orgasm, men come, and that's, you know, that's it, end of story. And women may be left sort of kind of half there. I don't know what to say about that. I suppose to an extent I'm guilty of that. I try not to be.
Your partner might think he's behaving perfectly, when in fact he's rubbing you up the wrong way altogether.
I think you have to be well-mannered because bed is obviously a very sensitive area, so you have to handle it quite delicately. On the other hand, if it's not working, you know and they know, and you both know that you know, and it's very embarrassing. So perhaps sometimes it's best to say, look, you know, let's stop, have a sandwich, and then go back to it. Above all, I just think be honest, without being hurtful, difficult though that is.
I think men have a big problem with ego and performance in bed, and they would interpret I don't really like that as I really hate your personality and I'm not going to see you again. Sometimes, if you're driven to change partners, you might find it creates as many problems as it solves.
I could do without hearing the names of ex-boyfriends. Not during. I mean, not during. If it's during, it's a problem. It's prior to or afterwards when you're compared to. Even if it's positively, you know, you still feel like, you know, there's three people in there.
Everyone talks about their past, and obviously someone had a person before you, but when they keep going on about it, you just think, dump your excess baggage, you're here now. OK, if they want to be with them, then fine, they should go back and not waste your time. But if they're still really bugged by it, then perhaps they should wonder if they're with you on the rebound. And, of course, no man would like you walking in and saying, oh, my last boyfriend had one of those, but bigger.
I think it's more of a problem with someone you've just met who's just split up with somebody, and they assume that the people they're with, or the person they're with, is into something their ex was into for like 2 or 3 years, or however long it was. You know, who liked the bum being spanked with the Hawaii hairbrush all of a sudden, and assumes it's the norm.
Women who insist on having the lights turned out bore me rather. You sort of get in the room and this one says, "Oh, turn the light out." Well, actually, they don't talk like that. God, I'd die if I'd been with a woman who talked like that. But you know, who just want the lights out. You know, want to do it in pitch darkness, like some kind of crime or sin. You know.
If you're willing to get into bed with someone, then it's pretty useless trying to sort of slip between the sheets before they see your body hole and things like that, you know.
Well, I also get really pissed off if you, like, come home with a woman and you leap into bed or floor or table or whatever, and they're, like, going on about, oh, my breasts are too small, my thighs are too big, you know.
Now, there are certain areas where, if you're not very careful, you're really going to put your partner's nose out of joint.
Well, people are meant to be immune to their own body smells, which is a great oversight of evolution, I feel.
I'm kind of under the impression it's just nice to have a shower before going to bed. That doesn't, like, obsess me, you know. I'm not
How does a man deal with it?
I don't know. I never say anything about it because I think it would just kind of be a really offensive thing to say.
It's a bit nasty if you're just saying, oh, you know, you're a bit scruffy, go and have a wash. But if you say, oh, yeah, let's get in the bath, it's a bit more fun, you know.
Trying to improve your partner's sexual etiquette without stepping on the toes can be a bit of a dicey business. I mean, the last thing you want to do is offend them, but you do want to give them a nudge in the right direction.
If your partner's doing something offensive, or you find offensive, then yes, you should try and change it. Or feel free to say no. Nobody should ever have to put up with anything they don't like in bed or anywhere else. But particularly in bed, it should be an equal relationship. And you should have the power to say, no, I don't like it that way, or can we try another way? Try and be positive. You are, after all, in this relationship because you like the person, you fancy them rotten. So tell them how much you like them, how much you love them, but then suggest the change. Make them feel good about it, make it constructive, but change it.
But how do you change things, and when's the best time to ask?
Trying to get things changed and talking about it, approaching it, is always very difficult. If you do it while you're making love, then it can be a real rejection and a real put-down. So choose your moment carefully. Afterwards, when you're cuddling up and chatting, as long as they haven't gone to sleep and snoring their head off, whether it's male or female, that's a good time to bring it up. Or sometimes beforehand, and people neglect the fact that talking about sex is really dead sexy. It's a real turn-on. So even if you're talking about something that you want to change, it can lead into the act itself, and then everybody's happy.
In the age of safer sex, the condom is king, and condoms need their own code of conduct.
You know, I've got condoms in the back pocket, and you're getting right up to the sort of point, you're sort of waiting, oh God, are they gonna be, you know, when they're gonna pull them out, when they're gonna put them on, and it ends up you're sort of, well, are you gonna put a condom on or not, you know? Because I think it's daft if you don't wear a condom now, you know? You cannot not.
So, you refuse to say anything.
I can't say it, I just can't!
Perhaps your companion will be more cooperative. Have you anything to say?
Please help me.
say it. I'll say it. I think we should use a condom.
Yes, I think we should. There. That wasn't so bad, was it?
Right. Good.
Ask her if she's got any. Go on. Ask her.
We all know you're supposed to use one of these with a new partner, but that doesn't make it easier to raise the subject with them. Will it offend your partner? Will it put them off the whole idea? Just how do you broach the dreaded condom question? If the condom fairy hasn't left one under your pillow, perhaps the easiest thing is to say, I'll just get the condoms and pull them out your bag or wallet. Or you could say, I don't know about you, but I always practice safer sex. Or girls, try giving them the condom and say, we better use one of these, or else Mr. Wobbly doesn't get to play hide the helmet. You know, it's no good saying to a fella you've got to wear a condom if you haven't got one handy. Girls these days have got to be like Boy Scouts, prepared. You're supposed to carry a condom around in your handbag, but which one? We sent out 4 volunteers to find something for the weekend. Cooey, it's me.
Hello.
Right, girls, let's have a look at your cargo.
Right.
What have we got in here?
Well, in here we've got a condom key ring.
Oh, was that the key to his underpants? I hope so. These days, buying a condom should be as straightforward as flying out for a loaf of bread. So how did our girls fare on their condom quest?
Well, it was really funny. I walked past Boots and I thought, here's my chance. Completely empty counter. I'll dash in, grab the packet, pay for it to the nice lady assistant and rush out again. But I walked in and suddenly I was faced with this huge display of choice. And I just looked and I had no idea what to buy, the prices and the different amounts. So I just grabbed this one. And by the time I'd chosen it and I turned round, there were like 30 people standing there.
I did find myself buying some other products as well because I didn't want to be just caught buying the one condom.
I went straight for the female shop assistant. There was a man and a woman, and I really did not feel happy about going up to the man to buy them. And I'm a fairly experienced condom buyer, but I thought, you know, I've got a mission here. I'm going to try, see if I can cut through these barriers. I asked if they had any coloured ones, and sure enough, out of a drawer under the table, brings them out, puts them on the counter. So they'd been hidden away, obviously too obscene for the average person to have a look at.
I was looking for the safety mark and to make sure that everything was electronically tested and safe, and that I knew that there would be no chance of any escapees or anything like that that might cause a virus or anything else, or more babies, because I've got plenty of them. And as you know, this ribbed condom here looks more interesting than all the other boring ones.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I figured these could be a packet of tissues. If they're in my handbag, I trip over, everything goes flying out. Nobody's going to know, oops, there go some condoms. That was the only reason.
Is there anything else do you think would be a bonus for women? Perhaps a singing condom?
Oh, I don't like the idea of that. Men talk too much anyway, usually.
From out of our girls, one buys for a bit of a laugh, one buys rib for a little bit of tickle, one looks for safety first, and the fourth will buy any packet that doesn't look like condoms. And everybody wishes they didn't smell a rubber.
As a woman, your top priority should be safety. After all, girls, you don't want a condom that breaks. On the other hand, girls, you don't want something so tough that your fella feels like he's wearing the welly on his willy. So how do you pick a condom that's perfect for you?
Oh, don't get bewildered by all the different sorts. The truth is that for vaginal intercourse, Thin condoms are just as safe as thick ones, as long as you don't stick your fingernail through, of course. It doesn't matter which sort you buy, as long as you choose one with the British Safety Standards kite mark.
You know, these haven't been anywhere yet, and already they're having a good tumble.
And there's one other important thing to remember when you're using condoms.
Quite a number of couples like to use a lubricant in lovemaking, and people don't realise that everyday products such as petroleum jelly, baby oil, even margarine, butter or hand cream, which do in fact all contain oil and can actually damage the rubber. I mean, tests have actually shown that in fact, condoms can become ineffective within about 15 minutes if you've actually used baby oil on the rubber itself. So therefore it's very key you use the right product with a condom.
Attention, attention. Will all privates report to the mess for briefing at 1900 hours?
All right, you scrawny knobs, get fell in. I've just had word from upstairs. Some of you will be going in tonight. You're all clear what your objective is?
Get in, fertilise the egg, and get out again, Sarge.
Right. Now, before you do, I'm going to brief you on some of the obstacles that you can expect to run into. This is a very common form of defence, known as the condom. As you approach the target area, you may find someone tries to slip one of these over your head. Could be extremely dangerous, so be on your guard. Now, does anybody know what this is?
Is it some sort of flying saucer, Sarge?
Don't be a dickhead.
Sorry, can't help it, Sarge.
This is the diaphragm, or Dutch cap. This basically works by blocking off your advancing fire. All you can do with these is just get stuck in, give it your best shot, and then retreat and just hope to Christ that something gets through. All right, next.
That looks a bit dangerous, Sarge.
Yes. Well, this little beauty, gentlemen, is their secret weapon. Known as the coil, it's hidden deep inside the target area. It's capable of defusing anything that may have managed to get through. Quite apart from that, it can also give you a pretty nasty poke in the eye. Now, lastly, yes, a sight to drive terror into the heart of any self-respecting genital. Chemical warfare. If they use this on you, well, you may as well pack your wrinkly little bag and return to underpants. So, any questions?
All this high-tech stuff, Sarge, we don't stand a chance, do we? We're doomed! Doomed!
Now, steady, steady. Good job your father didn't think like this, isn't it, me old cock? He was there, up to his neck in foams and jellies, but he didn't give up, did he? He stood firm. He gave his all, just so that you could carry on the procreative struggle.
You're right, Sarge. Thank you, Sarge.
Right. Well, gentlemen, good luck. Set your fuses, but be careful. We don't want anything going off at half cock. Right.
You know, condoms can protect you from a whole range of sexual diseases, not just AIDS. And if you use them properly, they have the handy bonus of stopping you from getting pregnant. Making love is the most effective way of making a baby. And if you're not quite ready to cope with a little bundle of bliss, you better start thinking seriously about contraception.
You simply can't say what is the best contraceptive for everybody. But in a short-term relationship, what you need to do is to get the contraceptive that will protect you, and indeed your partner, against both pregnancy and infection. And very often the answer there is the condom. In a marriage or a longer-term relationship, it's a much more complex thing. It should, in general terms, I think, be a joint decision as to what you're going to use, very often helped by a professional, by a doctor at a family planning clinic or a GP. And, of course, many couples in very long-term relationships these days will settle for male or female sterilisation.
But these days, a woman doesn't have to rely on a man to wear a condom. She can kiss herself out with one of these. It's the femidom, the female condom, which goes inside the woman. It might look like a windsock. It feels like a thin, plazzy bag, but it acts as a barrier. A small step forward or a giant leap for mankind. You lot will have to decide for yourselves.
What's the matter with you? Dr. Ligover stopped making house calls again, has he?
Oh, that's typical, isn't it? You instantly assume it's something to do with sex.
Oh, right. Sorry, mate. What's the problem?
It's my sex life. It's all got a bit boring.
Communication. That's your solution.
Hey?
When embarking on a sexual adventure, you must plan the journey with your partner. I mean, point out to her the lofty peaks and the secret valleys and the soft and treacherous marshy areas.
I've got a tent in the garage.
No.
Well, all right. What if I go home and I say to her, let's go on a sexual adventure, and she says to me, why don't you sod off, you kinky bastard?
Ah, remember, women have got much filthier minds than men. I mean, there's nothing you can think of that she hasn't already done with Linford Christian, the Archbishop of Canterbury. In her head.
In her head?
She knows that anything that two consenting adults do together in private is okay, however sordid and disgusting.
All right, then. Tonight, I'm going to go home and I'm going to suggest, all loving, that we go on a sexual adventure.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'll make sure she packs our nipple clamps and a cigar cutter. Oh, and half a pound of lard.
Over the weeks, I've been making notes of the trickier areas of behaviour in bed. Many people would like to put some icing on the passion cake, but they don't know how to go about it. So I'm going to have a chat with an expert over a nice cup of tea. Isabel, if you want to try something a bit more adventurous with your partner, how important is sexual etiquette?
If you're going into uncharted territory, it can be rather frightening, obviously very exciting, but you need to do it slowly and gently, because you've actually got no right to expect more adventurous sex from your partner. It's something you have to negotiate.
And one of the hardest areas to negotiate is something many people regard as taboo: anal sex. Not everyone's cup of tea, but several surveys show that 1 in 3 people have tried it.
Anal intercourse between men and women is illegal. So, quite honestly, nobody's got any right to say, you know, we've got to do this.
What if someone encourages you to have actual anal intercourse? What should you do?
The thing to do is to make sure he uses a condom. This is good from the point of view of hygiene, because the bacteria that live in the anus can give him an infection in his penis. And also, of course, safe sex protects against HIV. It's very important to have lots and lots of lubrication. I also think it's a good idea, if you find it does hurt, to ask, agree beforehand with your partner that you're going to stop and perhaps try another time. But having said that, many women find it very pleasurable because of the way that their anatomy works. The nerves that supply the clitoris, the vagina, and the anus are all very, very closely connected. So when you touch one area, particularly actually when you're aroused, it can sort of send shivers throughout the rest of that area.
But the important thing to remember is that no one should ever feel persuaded into doing anything they don't want to. You know, life could be a lot easier if all questions of etiquette were as simple as whether to wear socks in bed. And whatever the problems you come across, the most popular advice seems to be, when in doubt, talk it out. Next week, we try to find out how to keep your sex life alive in a long-term relationship. Not that we need any advice like that. Not us. Good night.